Hey everybody, Brett from Love Bats and the Belfry back for a new horror vlog here. And this is kind of going to be a quick one. I don't have a whole lot to say on it, but I do have to address those who are into spooky things may not know this exists. I just discovered Halloween is Grinch Night. While I didn't care for that, I did just discover this spooky show, Secrets of the Cryptkeeper's Haunted House. This was a game show that came to us in the year 1996, and apparently the last episode was in August of 1997. I'm not quite sure how many episodes actually there were of this series, but this was a game show hosted kind of by the Cryptkeeper, not necessarily hosted, but Cryptkeeper, voiced by John Kazir himself, almost like a co-host or really just like a commentator on this whole show. But this was hosted by some random guy, and it reminded me a lot of Legends of the Hidden Temple, if anyone's ever seen that show, which, I mean, was a fairly popular show on Nickelodeon. And I used to watch that show growing up and loved that show. Kind of a spookier, like Legends of the Hidden Temple type vibe. They had to go through different challenges, and it was kind of like that, where there's like obstacle courses. There was one that they did where they had to basically block there was this giant skull that for some reason was CGI. There was a lot of CGI effects in the show, and they looked horrible, and they have not aged well, but I kind of love that for it, of how goofy it looks. But like, one of the first challenges I watched on this one episode was these kids had to stand on like this like wobbly bridge and like kind of block all these balls that were going towards their way. And they had to block them from hitting these kind of skull targets behind them. There was like 5 of them. Even at one point, there was one kid who got like hit with like several balls and looked like he was about to fall off like the wobbly bridge. But for some reason, they just threw this like explosion CGI effect on him. So it didn't really show him like fall or anything. It was real kooky and real weird. I don't do drugs, but I would hate to see what someone was like in their reaction if they were like on LSD or some sort of drug watching this show. They probably would have lost their mind. But discovering more and more stuff that was like made in the 90s, I'm just like, how did they make this? Like, who thought like that got past somebody? Like, something like this would never be made now. It's so surprising, like some stuff that came out in the 90s, and really hitting me like how popular the Cryptkeeper really was with Tales from the Crypt. Tales from the Crypt stopped being a show like in the mid 90s, and then they had the Demon Knight movie come out. I guess they're like, yeah, let's have like a Saturday morning kids game show, kind of hosted by the Cryptkeeper. Choppy editing in this as well, where it was like, hey, we got to splice in the Cryptkeeper's commentary. There was also this horror award show. Like, they only did a couple of them like in the early 90s, and they were all hosted by the Cryptkeeper. I think it was called the Horror Hall of Fame. I remember watching that, and I was like, the Cryptkeeper is like really like stiff compared to like how he's normally seen. And my first thought, it was like, oh, it's because they probably just don't have as much puppeteers like controlling the Cryptkeeper with all his facial movements and his body movements. And that's the case here with Secrets of the Cryptkeeper's Haunted House. That is a long title too. That's a long title to remember. This is like so up my alley. It's just shocking it even exists. Episode I watched at the very end of it, it's like, well, you're both winners. And yeah, it was like 2 teams doing all these challenges, and whoever had the most points, of course, at the end would win. And then, but like the host guy was just like, well, you're both winners and you're going away with killer prizes. And teams like left with like a old like Macintosh, and then it said like with CD-ROM. I was like, yeah, this reeks of the 90s right here. Highly recommend that everyone check this out if you like the Cryptkeeper in any regard. It's so weird, yeah, like, because there's the whole like, you know, Cryptkeeper, Tales from the Crypt Christmas album. I haven't talked about that on this channel, but yeah, I own a copy of the Tales from the Crypt Christmas album. It's like, we wish you a scary little Christmas. Like, just, yeah, some of the merchandise for Tales from the Crypt in the 90s was like, it was crazy. Tales from the Crypt, made the movies. They did Tales from the Cryptkeeper for the kids, like, cartoon. It's so funny how like kids loved the Cryptkeeper, because I was one that was terrified of the Cryptkeeper as a kid. Then again, I used to be a huge scaredy cat. It's a funny origin story for me because of just how big of a horror fan I am now. This was one thing I never realized was even a thing, but it's kind of great. I wish there was more episodes because I only found like 2. There's like a YouTube channel that has like 2 full episodes, but I really can't recall if there was more than that or how many episodes there really were of this show, but they were kind of awesome, at least what I've seen so far. A little hidden gem for you Cryptkeeper fans out there, so check it out if you haven't already. But I just wanted to come on and put this out in the ether and kind of give a little spotlight on it. It's kind of cool. So if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more spooky stuff. And other than that, my name's Brett. I'll see you in a future video. Bye.